You know, when you're a little kid, they always tell you the boogeyman's gonna get you, and you're supposed to be scared. I always had a fantasy or a dream that the boogeyman came, and he's like riding on this black stallion, and he comes to my window, and he comes to get me, and I jump on the horse with him, and like I wrap my arms around his waist, and I get up under his cape, and we fly away. There I was at a high school dance in 1964. Looked across the proverbial crowded room to see this handsome stranger who'd never appeared at our high school before. 6'2", eyes of blue, the white tux jacket, the blue ruffled shirt, and he was gorgeous. One thing led to another, and he became my steady boyfriend for a year. His name was John Schaefer. We wouldn't go on a lot of normal kind of teenage dates. He liked graveyards. He would speculate about the dead people and, what it was like to be dead and what did they look like now, and on and on and on. At times, we'd make love there. It wasn't anything macabre about it to me at that time. It was just another remote place outdoors where we liked to make love. He was a nice kid, came from a well-to-do family, the yacht club set, the debutante set, all the social graces. He went to Catholic school and was just an awfully nice guy. My parents took him with us on our vacation. I remember when my grandmother was knitting, he would hold his hands up to let her wrap the yarn around his hands. Everyone in my family just loved him. He was as nice as he could be. Actually, he was too nice. He began to tell me of some problems that he had, some uncontrollable desires to want to kill women. People tell you things all the time, and I really had never heard anyone say anything like that or talk to me the way he did. One night, we were out in his front yard, and he pointed out the window of a house 2 doors down, and he told me about the girl that lived there. He said that she would undress in the window at him and flaunt her body at him. And the mixture of emotions that I saw in his eyes that day was arousal and anger. And this is something I've never seen. Normally, when a guy is telling about being able to see a girl undress, you'll see him happy, excited, oh, check this out, she undresses, I get to watch her, And it wasn't that at all. He was very angry and disturbed, and he said, what a slut, and he said, I'll put a stop to that. I was just a kid. I was not a therapist. My feeling is just like, I'm not here to do therapy, dude, You're on your own with this. It was cutting into my good time, basically. Subsequent to that, I didn't have anything to do with Schaefer. He did call me up. He had been stalking me after I broke up with him. He called up to tell me he was waiting outside and watching me with my new boyfriend. You mark your words. He said, I'll get you back. And I thought he meant that, I would be his girlfriend again, but later on I wondered, what does he mean, I'll get you back? It was 9 years before the headlines hit. 2 women dead and 28 to 30 dead and missing girls.
The bodies of Georgia Jessup, age 16, and Susan Place, 17, were found in thick brush on the east coast of Florida. They were decapitated and mutilated. Gerard Schaefer was sentenced to 2 life terms for those murders, but he says he didn't do it. He has been diagnosed as a sexual deviant and erotic sadist, someone for whom they say murder is no longer enough.
You can call me whatever you want to call me, but let's see some evidence.
They performed a search at his mother's house in Fort Lauderdale. There was a room in the back, John and I had had sex there several times. When the police searched it, they went in the closet and found a number of boxes. You had hundreds of pages of writings, photographs from magazines where he would take a picture of a woman and jab holes in the picture. There was a gold tooth, trophies of his victims. There were some jewelry items, IDs, divorce papers, items of an extremely personal nature. The little locket with the fleur-de-lis and the name embroidered on it, Lee, the name of the girl that he had pointed out and said, I'm going to put a stop to that. At that particular time, I had a career as a business writer, writing computer manuals and so forth, and begin to look around and say, is this all there is? If I do this really well, I'll get to do this for the rest of my life. Okay, I'll get to write more computer manuals until death do us part. At this time, Ted Bundy was executed, and there was a great deal of media attention on death row, executions, serial killers. And I read the book by Errol about her relationship with Ted Bundy. And I said to myself, shoot, I says, I can do this. She thinks she had a relationship. Boy, I have a lot more of a relationship than that. So I wrote to Schaefer February 8th, 1989, and said, I'm a writer now. Do you remember me? And would you like to do a book? I don't have any inner compulsion or fascination with the morbid. I knew a serial killer up close. I wanted to understand it. How is it possible to know someone so very well and for them to have a life of secret violence at the same time? How can someone be just as nice as they can be, and you can see them and know them day in and day out, and then find out that all that time they were living another life, something completely different, violence, sex, murder. We met on the yard, and we got along great. He had a great sense of humor. We hugged. I told him that, I wanted to know what really happened. He began to try to impress me that he was the real thing, and wrote these confessions to me that were absolutely hair-raising and hideous. We published a book of his writings called Killer Fiction. Schaefer had conscripted me to perpetrating the illusion that he's merely a creative artist who writes about murder exceptionally well. And the reason that his stories are convincing is because he's such a talented artist. I find he's a good writer, believe he's also a serial killer as well. I went along with helping him publish his murder fantasies as they came closer and closer to the edge of what was real. While Schaefer was presenting to the world the story that he was a creative writer writing about murder, he was at the same time sending me confidential letters telling me what he had really done, claiming between 80 and 110 murders. And then he threatened me if I told that he would kill me and have my daughter killed. He also attempted to put a guilt trip on me and tell me that it was my fault that all these women had died because I dumped him when he needed me. I just said, forget it. What you told me and asked me to keep secret, I don't owe you that anymore. I left his life once again.
At the University of Florida in Gainesville today, there is widespread concern that a serial killer is on the loose. This morning, the bodies of a man and woman were found at a student apartment building. Since Sunday, 3 young women, all students, have been found dead near the university.
In Gainesville, Florida last night, a drifter, Danny Harold Rawling, was indicted for the murders of 5 college students at the University of Florida last year.
Originally, when I had published the material on Schaefer, it drew the attention of a number of inmates who then plied me with offers to do their stories. Danny Rawling presented himself and said, I will give you your answers. Study me. To have this central crime figure contact me and say, without any kinds of games, I want to give you my story. I want to explore the roots of what went wrong with me, and I want it to be you to do it. I found that pretty gratifying from the beginning. They called me from the state's attorney's office and said, do you want to see Danny? Of course. They said, come tomorrow morning and you'll see him. I was so excited, I couldn't sleep. I went to the prison the next day, and they took me in this little chamber, and they brought Danny in, and I saw him for the first time. And when he's in court, he's always very upset and sad. Every picture that had been published always had a sad face. And he turned to me, just smiled the sweetest smile at me. And I found myself immensely attracted to him. As a man, he made me feel like a woman. I had been very nervous. How would we get along? How would we really feel together? And we just slid into each other so naturally. We would be having a conversation on 2 sides of glass. We were separated by glass. We had one guard there monitoring us. And we would be talking about the things that were going on, like his confessions. And one of us would be looking at the other, talking, and the other one was talking away. And the other one would just go, I love you, I love you.
The rules say you have to give Mr. Rawling an opportunity to have a say. You have anything you want to say, Mr. Rawling?
Well, sir. If it please the court, could I address the court?
Sure, say whatever you want to say.
Thank you. And I recall the day I first saw you. I reached out to say I love you, but it was hard to say. I couldn't touch you. So tell me, baby, what were my words? All my tears run together.
Excuse me, Mr. Rawling.
Down the
Mr.
path you
Rawling.
choose
Mr. Rawling.
to follow.
Mr. Rawling.
So tell me, baby, what were my words? All my tears run together. What were my words? All my tears run together, baby, just like rain.
Okay, you get one song and that's it, Mr. Rawling. We're not here so that you can address your friend. We're here for sentencing.
The world of serial killers is a very strange place where statuses are based on qualities that we might not be aware of in the free world. You take a guy like Schaefer, he's been locked up for 20 years. No one remembers his crimes. And lo and behold, he looks up and he sees me, the object of his 25-year-long obsession, on TV, being serenaded by the new serial killer on the block, who's younger, better looking, more interesting to the media, has a lot more groupies. Also, I have given Danny Rawling something I had never given Schaefer, which is a frank acknowledgement to the public that I care for him. Too bad, Schaefer, I don't love you.
Well, how do you feel?
Sondra, what'd you think?
I'm kind of nervous right now.
Why?
Kind of excited.
Why are you excited, Sondra?
Because Danny loves me.
Why this attraction to serial killers?
What a lame question. You can do better than that.
But what's the answer?
That is lame.
Why the attraction to Danny Rawlings?
That's different. Danny Rawling is a person, okay? And my feelings for Danny Rawling are based upon what kind of person he is. It's not because he's a serial killer. Danny and I are both very emotional, very volatile, very creative, and the more I have known Danny, the more it has brought out the Danny side of me. Danny is very talented in the visual arts. When you try to verbalize, you can trick yourself. But when you draw images, you can't lie. The hands cannot lie. The little fallen angel that he had drawn, people usually ask me, what do you love about Danny? If I could just point to that little fallen angel, the face, the look on his face. This is the little Danny, that pure, innocent child within him. Danny is able to use his draftsmanship skills to probe into his mind, to come up with the symbolism that expresses what it means to be him, to live this peculiar fate that he has. One of the most important things that I found to admire in Danny was the fact that he was guilty, he was ashamed of it, he was shocked by it, and he wanted to allow me to study him in order that possibly someone could learn from his story, from what went wrong with this little guy from Louisiana to reach the point where he would kill people and do the things that he did. There were 3 crime scenes in Gainesville. In each case, he took the occupants in their own homes unaware. The first murder he committed, the girl was sound asleep. It was very fast. He stabbed her to death quickly. And he came downstairs. He had noticed that Christina Powell was asleep downstairs. He came down and woke Christina up. He had blood on him from killing Sonia. He raped her and killed her. The next night, he went to a girl's house that he had been stalking. He went inside and waited for her to come home, ambushed her. He raped her and killed her. He left the scene of the crime and went to get a drink at a 7-Eleven and noticed he had lost his wallet. He went back to the scene of the crime and searched the premises. He never did find his wallet. But while he was there at the scene of the crime, he cut off Krista Hoyt's head. He put it on a shelf. And then he took her headless corpse and put it in a sitting up position to resemble the sculpture, The Thinker. The crimes Danny committed are hideous. They're almost beyond belief. When police examined the crime scenes that were left in Gainesville, there were many, many statements made at that time that this killer is trying to leave a message. Upon asking Danny Rolling what was the message, the only thing he could come up with was that evil is real, that evil walks this earth like a natural man. I think we all are aware of the urge to kill. We all know what it is. And so we're fascinated with those who actually go beyond just the feelings and actually do these things.
Between the land of the living and the land of the dead, there's a place they call Death Row, where all the fallen angels slowly go insane, looking in a mirror and seeing the Grim Reaper in their own eyes. This is for all the fallen angels on death row all over the world. Some are guilty of terrible crimes, but all are part of humankind. With blood-stained hands and haunted eyes, they live with death. They die for life. Execution makes us killers too. I know I'm a killer, and so are you. Vengeance demands the killer die. When will we stop and wonder why?
I have become my story. I didn't follow the rules that they teach you in Columbia School of Journalism, where you stay distant, where you don't get involved, you don't allow it to touch you, you don't allow it to change you. They want to be safe. I am not safe. The people want to know how I feel. They want to know what it's like to know a serial killer. They want to know what it's like to see someone that you loved be transformed into a monster that you can't even recognize as a human any longer. How does that feel? It happened to me. But I wouldn't have it any other way. Anyone can do the same old thing. I never wanted to be a repeatable person.
How do you feel about having your childhood fantasies come true?
Well, I'm riding on the back of that Grim Reaper's horse, that's for sure. When Danny Rolling came along into my life, he sent me this great Valentine's. You can run, but you can't hide. Hold on tight. You're in for a hell of a ride. You know, and immediately I, was reminded of my boogeyman image. I'm riding along on the back of the black stallion, my arms around the Grim Reaper's waist. And it's pretty exciting.
And where were you going?
I don't know. Don't know. Just keep going. I don't know if you ever get anywhere, Just along for the ride.